Well, as far as I'm aware, every state that's implemented photo ID has ensured that anyone who can't afford it is given one free of charge. So I'm not sure how you can then equate a tax. Second, I don't understand. I mean, what you just said to me is, gosh, you know, to prove who you are, to have to vote is a tax. What would you do? Just assume that you walk in and anyone could just say, hey, I'm who you are. I am who I am. There is a degree to which you want.
But we don't have an issue of voter fraud in this country. It really wasn't us that came up with this. It was basically our forefathers and the elected leaders who put together our Constitution that decided that, not me.
Okay, at a time when it was a little different back then. I don't believe they had driver's licenses back in the 1700s, but I'll check on that. I don't understand why it would be, when you have a common sense measure that says, hey, if you're going to walk into a voting booth, to ensure that your vote not only counts for you, but someone else doesn't come in and dilute that vote by casting a ballot that they are not who they say they are.
There's no instances of voter fraud. There are no substantial instances of voter fraud that federal judges would actually rule on to implement these laws. I mean, they have these cases that have been unproven going up the federal chain.
Do you lock your house at night?
Do I lock my house at night?
Do you lock the doors to your house at night?
Yeah.
Okay. You do it not because it maybe has a history of being broken into, but because you regard your property and your personal well-being as something precious and you want to protect it. It's not because there's a history of necessarily your home being broken into. And so I think the question comes down, when it comes to protecting our right to vote, it's not necessarily has there been rampant voting fraud in every state that we have to protect it. It says this is a precious right that each of us has as an American.
Why do we need to lock down the vote?
And there's a common sense measure put in place to ensure that nothing happens to that.
I mean, that's what basically voter suppression is, putting a lock on the right and the access for many Americans to vote who may not have the same access to voting as maybe you and I have, because we can afford to go get an ID for ourselves. And I know we're getting wrapped around the axis on this.
Right, but I mean, here's my if every state that's implemented this has allowed for measures to ensure that if you cannot afford it, that one is provided for you free, then your argument goes out the window.